Rick Revel Mr. History, brought to you in part by Dixie Gunworks in Union City, Tennessee.
When was the last time you stood up and applauded a movie? Audiences across America are standing up, applauding, and cheering a film called Walking Tall.
I thought you walked tall! Because you gotta learn how to...
Like millions of other people, I went to see a movie titled Walking Tall just before I graduated high school in 1974. What made the movie different for me was the fact it was about a fellow Tennessean who lived just over 70 miles from the farm where I grew up in Henry, Tennessee. Buford Pusser was the sheriff of McNairy County, and he had a huge reputation for fighting crime while he carried a big stick. Joe Don Baker brought Buford Pusser to life on the silver screen and made the West Tennessee sheriff a hero to many, which includes yours truly. As with most legends, the lines between fact and fiction become blurred at times, so it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. On today's episode of History Highway, we're going to hear from individuals who knew the sheriff personally, and hopefully will set the record straight. So join us as we explore the life and times of Buford Pusser, the man who walked tall and carried a mighty big stick. It doesn't matter if you're a reenactor who loves the smell of black powder in the morning on the battlefield, or a collector who admires the craftsmanship of a well-made weapon of old. Dixie Gunworks has a Pedersoli just for you. And not only does Dixie Gunworks have a warehouse full of Pedersoli reproduction firearms, they have an incredible collection of antique firearms. Inside the pages of their huge catalog, you will find gun parts, shooting accessories, reenactor clothing, camping supplies, and even some big guns if you like to burn a lot of powder. Dixie Gunworks is located in Union City, Tennessee. But for your convenience, visit our online store at www.dixiegunworks.com or call 1-800-238-6785. At 342 Pusser Street in Adamsville, Tennessee, you will find the Buford Pusser Home and Museum, and that's where we are today as we begin a conversation with Tina Mullis, the curator of the museum. I'm here in Adamsville, Tennessee, and I had the opportunity to swing by the Buford Pusser Museum. When I was growing up, this was one of my heroes when I was a child. I remember going to the Capitol Theater in McKenzie, Tennessee, my mom and dad, and I remember watching the movie Walking Tall with Joe Don Baker. Tell me your name, what you do here.
I'm Tina Mullis. I am the curator at the Buford Pusser Home and Museum in Adamsville, Tennessee.
I'm glad to be here, and thank you for the invite, because gives me a chance to kind of see where he lived. Now this is the home, is that correct?
Everything in here is original. The carpet, the furniture, it's just like he left here this morning.
Now this is like a ranch-style home, or can you kind of give me a description of the home a little bit?
Right. It's the original house was a ranch-style home, just the kitchen, living room, and bedrooms down the hall. And that house burned in 1971. Buford had the house built back, and he added the basement as his new living quarters.
Wow.
So now it has a full basement.
And in the basement is a huge museum. You think it's impressive upstairs. You go downstairs, it's pretty incredible.
Yes.
Now, I noticed in the garage area, which was probably his little workshop and things, the Corvette's there.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me kind of the story behind the Corvette? Has it always been here in the museum?
It has not always been here. It was in Pigeon Forge at the Carbos Sheriff's Museum for many years. And then about 15 years ago, they closed down and we got the Corvette back.
Well, that's good. Now, there was a big Cadillac in there. What's the story?
It's a Lincoln.
It's a Lincoln?
Yes.
It's a Lincoln in there? Wow. What's
Yeah,
the
it
story
is.
behind it?
That's the family car. Both
Okay.
cars are 74s. Buford bought them with proceeds from the first movie.
Okay.
And the Lincoln was the family car. He had driven it to Memphis the day he died to announce that he was at a press conference to announce
Right.
he was going to portray himself in the second movie.
Wow.
And then his mother drove that car till she died in 1987. So it was driven about 13 or 14 years. It has 55,000 miles on it.
Wow.
It's my favorite thing in this museum.
It's in good shape. It's in good shape. Now, I notice we're standing in the kitchen area, and I guess this is kind of considered the den, but then it adjoined the kitchen. Now, is that the original refrigerator and everything?
Everything.
All the appliances are
Yeah,
original?
and this was an unusual, back then, to have such an open floor plan was very unusual. But yes.
Now, I noticed there'll be some B-roll, as we call it. There'll be some video of a piano. Did somebody in the family play the piano that sits in the...
That was his mother's, Miss Helen.
Okay, and that's what sits in the living room area. And the big stick we noticed in the display case out front, would that happen to be one of the originals or just
Yes.
one of the originals?
There are several sticks throughout the museum because Buford didn't walk around with one particular one all the time like they showed in the movie.
Right.
He grabbed whatever was handy, a table leg, fence post.
Yeah, axe handle if it had to be.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
He really campaigned not to carry a gun, and he didn't carry a gun until they murdered his wife. So for the first 3 years he was in office, he didn't carry a gun. We have the fence post that started the whole stick legend. He came upon 6 men that thought they'd fight him, so he grabbed that fence post, sent 3 to the hospital and 3 to jail. They went around telling that Buford carried a stick.
Yeah.
So that started the legend.
That got the legend started with Walking Tall. Now, as far as coming here to Adamsville, can you tell me what else, we've got the house here, but what are some of the special things in this house that makes it more than just a house? It's a museum, so what is it that really is special to you that's here in the home?
Well, the car is my favorite thing.
The car's your favorite.
But it's just like time just stood still. This house is really like he just left it here this morning. His toothbrush is still there. Looks like he just stood there and brushed his teeth this morning and left. And I just love how it's all just still exactly the way it was.
That's what it looked like when I was trying to videotape some of it. It's actually like it's standing in time. It's just there. It's paused. It's like you hit the pause button and
Yes.
it's still there. Just like you said, as he left it. Now notice there's the children's rooms. Who was occupied the rooms?
Mike
at that
and
time?
Mike had his own room, and Dewana and Diane shared a room. There were 3 children.
Okay.
Diane and Mike were Pauline's children from a previous marriage, but Buford raised them as his own, and then Dewana was Pauline and Buford's together. But anyway, he always raised them as his own. Mike was only 3 when they got married, so he was the only dad they ever knew. So the girls shared a room, and Mike had his own bedroom. And then,
Now here's your personal question. Did you ever get a chance to meet Buford yourself? Okay, can you kind of give me a little bit of story about how you met him?
I was scared to death of him.
Were you?
Because he was so big.
Big guy.
And that face was messed up, and he was just huge. His hands were like a catcher's mitt. He was a huge guy. And when I went to see the movie over in Henderson, my daddy took my brother and I to see it, and Buford was standing out in front of the theater.
That's when
talking
you
to
met
people.
him. After he was becoming famous, you met him then. So you didn't meet him as a law officer in his early
No.
days. You met him later. That's wild. How old were you then?
9.
See, I was young when the movie came through and the Capitol Theater, and I guess we all were mesmerized by a Tennessean, and I think that's what meant the most to me was the fact that since David Crockett's days, he was probably the next most famous Tennessean we have.
He was.
And-
That ambush that killed his wife and they shot his chin off, that's what put us on the map.
And it's a shame that Crockett had to die at the Alamo for us to really remember him. I think he made a very huge impact on Tennessee, in his time while he was living, but it was the Alamo that put him on the map, and I guess it was the disasters that happened in Buford Pusser's life that put him on the map. So it kind of made the story more heartwarming because, or tragic, the fact that he lost his wife. That scene, when you watch it, when he loses his wife and he gets shot, that's
and they depicted
scary.
that scene exactly the way it happened. And you know, Buford, like I said, he was standing out in front of the theater when I went to see it. So many people tell me that from all over, you know, that he went to their town and promoted the movie and stood out. And he'd go in and watch the movie, but he never once watched that scene. Never once.
That's what I always heard. It seemed, and this is kind of jumping to a personal note with me, Dewana, didn't her and her husband at one time own a restaurant or something, Pusser's? It was called? I sang there, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, that's probably been 15 plus years ago, but I sang there probably 15, maybe 20 years ago.
Awesome.
They hadn't been open long, and maybe a year or so, and we actually came in there and they were having music, and so I was invited to come and perform there. So
Well,
yeah, it was kind of cool. Some of my friends that used to do the Great Pretenders group that lived in Gleason, Tennessee, they said, "Come down, we're going to play at Pusser's, and we want you to play with us." And
well,
so
that's neat.
I got to meet her, so
Yeah,
she was a very neat lady.
she was. She was larger than life.
Yes, she was. She was. So it was a beautiful day to get a chance to meet her. I appreciate it, Miss Tina, you showing me around the museum, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Please tell everybody, invite everybody to come see what you
Y'all
got.
come see us at the museum. There is so much in here to look at and read. You'll just be so glad you came. It's much bigger than it looks like from the outside. We have people tell us all the time they like it better than Graceland.
Well, and what's nice about this, if you come here, you're keeping the story alive, and that's what History Highway is about. We want to keep the story alive, and Buford Pusser's story really depends on you now to help keep it alive, and so the rest of the world knows that there was a true hero that lived in McNairy County, Tennessee.
Absolutely.
We'll be back on History Highway.
Looking for a place to go? The Alabama Music Hall of Fame should be the next place on your bucket list. From the Swampers to Nat King Cole. From country music to the blues. There are music legends everywhere. The Alabama Music Hall of Fame is at 617 Highway 72 West, Tuscumbia, Alabama. The Alabama Music Hall of Fame, where the legends live.
From the pens of the Kennedy twins comes a new literary composition. The renowned authors of The South Was Right and a dozen more publications have become known for their zeal for conservatism and Southern heritage preservation. In their new book, Jefferson Davis' High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, Donnie and Ron Kennedy hold nothing back. They're quick to point out Davis's high road approach to emancipation, while Lincoln chose the low road. Never afraid of controversy and to go against the grain of the politically correct, the Kennedy twins expose how our constitutional republic of sovereign states has been transformed into a deep state of federal government. To get your copy of the book that defends President Davis and the South, go to www.kennedytwins.com. That's www.kennedytwins.com. We're here today in Chapel Hill, Tennessee at the Forrest Boyhood Home. And I'm here with my good friend Gene Andrews and Mr. Rich Garcia. And we would like to invite you to come see this beautiful historic place and walk back in time. Starting out as a private and making his way to Lieutenant General, the tactics of Nathan Bedford Forrest are studied in military academies around the world. Come to Chapel Hill, Tennessee to see his boyhood home and take a walk back in time.
Way down in McNairy County.
It seemed just like almost every time Daddy got shot, it was always in a space area because usually somebody was driving by.
Here's a walking of the legend.
rubbed his chin and it wiggled around and he stomped his feet or rubbed his feet. He was fixing to hit somebody. He had no fear.
The real Buford was quiet, soft-spoken, was more like a gentle giant. Although when he needed to, he could become that alter ego, you know, sheriff with a big stick.
He was big and tough, but he had a heart of gold.
James, how you doing?
All right, how are you, Bill?
Been doing fine. Very seldom does the county have an opportunity to see history unfold like it did during the Buford Pusser years. You know, when it come to fighting the criminal element, Buford was hell on wheels. That's really what he was.
He really was. He did a fantastic job in keeping the peace and order of McNair County.
He came to this office on the first Monday in September 1966. 24 months later, he had busted 147 whiskey stills with nobody to help him except his chief deputy, Jim Moffitt.
Ain't a moonshiner in the county. That big Buford can't catch.
He was a yes sir and a no sir, a yes ma'am and a no ma'am person, a man prone to open the car door for ladies and things like that. I know that when he dealt with the criminal element, he did have a vicious side, but in that case, he was fighting fire with fire.
When he campaigned to clean up the area without a gun, without force. And then he got stabbed and sort of changed his mind. I think his mother and everybody was concerned, you know, it wasn't going to work. You know, if you're going to live, you're going to have to take something beside your hand. Of course, he had a big hand, that was a lot, but some of the people he's dealing with, you know, machine guns and all, a hand, not much help.
He had a lot of strikes against him when he took the sheriff's job. The sheriff that was running against Buford when he was running for sheriff come up dead in a car, supposedly a car wreck down here in, between Selmer and State Line. But now they was some terribly rough people in this down there around the state line.
There was some bad folks up here in this part of the country in those days, and maybe still be, but he was not afraid of them, and he would stand up to them and do whatever it took to clean up the things that didn't need to be here.
He had a way about him, he had a personality that just stood out. And things happened to him, and thank goodness don't normally happen to most people. But it seemed like, I guess because of his size, they went looking for him.
One day there was a carnival came through town, and they had a bear with the carnival, and they selected people from the audience, you know, just come up and wrestle the bear. So Buford decided he was going to wrestle the bear. It was a big black bear. And so he did. He got up in the ring and wrestled the bear, and he pinned the bear.
He's Buford Pusser. He goes bear hunting with a switch.
One of the most interesting stories that I ever knew about Buford dealt with a lady that called him when they had domestic problems. It seems that this fellow would abuse his family, come in drunk. One night he threw the cat in the stove. Another night he threw the girls' school books in the stove. She called Buford and said, he's drunk again, Buford. I need some help over here. So Buford got in a patrol car. He went to Adamsville. But he stopped just before he got to the man's house, and he cut him a hickory stick about like your thumb.
John Grant was the man's name, but they called him Flagpole. So Buford went out there in the yard and cut him down a small tree, is what it was. He called it a switch.
Drove on up to the house. Lady come out crying, and Buford said, well, what's the matter this time? Oh, he's down in the barn, she said. He's drunk. Don't go down there, Buford. He'll kill you if you go down there. Buford went down there and drug him out and whipped him with that hickory stick until he wet all over himself.
He took him by the arm and just wore that switch or what it was out on him. Said, now, Flagpole, I whipped you this time like a kid. But said, if I have to come back out here and you beating up on your family and chasing your in-laws, said, I'm going to whip you like you was a man. He never did have to go back.
The morning that he got shot, I cut his hair that afternoon, late that afternoon, and he was telling me that he was going to Kentucky
to visit his in-laws, and he was laughing about that, said, you have to go sometime. And that was late in the afternoon, and he got shot the next day.
After the ambush, our whole life was upside down. It's hard enough losing your parent when you're 6 years old, but it's very hard to understand as a little girl that someone would want to murder your mother.
It just ripped my jaw off here completely. It was hanging plumb down on my shoulder here. And of course she was hit again and killed.
Our family lost so much through this, but my dad stood up and believed in it and continued to keep cleaning the area up.
I just don't like to give up. I mean, once they get you down, they're going to keep you down. If they think they can put you on the run, they're going to put you on the run.
Law enforcement's been his whole life. Though he's been stabbed and shot, and they killed his wife.
He called me one night. He said, "You're not going to believe what's happened." I said, "What?" And he said, "Some so-and-so called me and said they was Bancroft's Productions, and they'd be interested in making a movie about my life."
By the time he was out of the sheriff's office, they'd made the movies, and he was just famous because of the way he did his job and the way it all ended like it did.
We had been told that they had had a contract out on his life. He said, "No talking to people that you do not know. Do not get in the car and ride with somebody that you do not know."
There's some talk that the syndicate put a price on your head. Now, do you really think this happened?
Well, it's strictly through the grapevine. The rumor had been out that they had.
I could look up ahead and see there was something happened on the left side of the road. We had to go down the hill, back up another top of a little hill, and as we got closer, I told him, I said, "That's Daddy. Daddy's had a wreck." I was so scared for him, so held on to his neck, turned him over, held it, and was saying, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And he muttered a little bit, and what I want to think was Dwana. I hope and pray that he knew that I was there with him. It was just another moment or two, and he was gone.
There's no way that anybody can find out what happened, but there's just people that said somebody sabotaged the car.
He wasn't perfect, by no means, but he was a very good man. He had a good heart, and you know what? He fought for something that he believed in.
He done the best job that anybody I know of that's ever been sheriff in this county.
I'm the sheriff of the county.
He gave a bunch of people what they had coming to them, and that's the way people felt when they saw those movies. They knew the criminal element was going to suffer when he got to them.
He kept walking tall every day, even though all the bad things that had happened to his life, and he could have turned bitter, but he didn't.
Many years ago, Discovery Park of America was nothing more than a dream for Robert and Jenny Kirkland. Located in Union City, Tennessee, this world-class museum and learning center is second to none. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher planning a class trip, a parent looking for a vacation stop, or an individual who loves history and science, Discovery Park of America is the place for you. From days gone by to the future and beyond, there is something for everyone, no matter your age or point of interest. Since the year 2013, well over 1.3 million visitors have visited our 50-acre, $100 million facility. What used to be a peaceful cornfield in the countryside is now a state-of-the-art destination for you and your family. For more information, go to www.discoveryparkofamerica.com.
When my mother was in college, she danced with Confederate veterans. To me, it wasn't that far away. My father knew this. My mother knew this. Almost 50 years ago, I joined the Sons of Confederate Veterans. In those days, we weren't concerned about saving monuments or any of those things. That wasn't necessary. In fact, none of us had any remote idea that it would ever come up, or we would have done something then. We can't just sit there and react. We have to be proactive.
The Sons of Confederate Veterans is the direct heir of the United Confederate Veterans and the oldest hereditary organization for male descendants of Confederate soldiers. Organized at Richmond, Virginia in 1896, the SCV continues to serve as a historical, patriotic, and non-political organization dedicated to ensuring that a true history of the 1861 to 1865 period is preserved. Membership in the SCV is open to all male descendants of any veteran who served honorably in the Confederate Armed Forces.
Dear friends, as an author and living historian, I travel this great country, and every time I see a church steeple and see the cross, I'm reminded that this nation was founded on strong, firm Christian principles. I've written a series of books, this one being In My Father's House, and they are available at Amazon.com. David Chaltis.
Get your copy today at Amazon.com.
The legend of White Earp you've heard no doubt. Matt Dillon cleaned the West out, it's a fact. There's a legend now for the world to see, and he's walking tall right here in Tennessee. Now law enforcement's what my story's about. Buford Pusser done his share and there's no doubt. He's a sheriff of McNairy County, don't you see? And he loves the life he leads for you and me.
And he loves the life he leads for you and me.
Law enforcement's been his whole life, though he's been stabbed and shot and they killed his wife. It was out on New Hope Road they were found. That's where they killed her and then they shot him down. As the blood flowed down, they thought that he was dead. Buford tried in vain to radio ahead. It was hard to read the words that he said. He said, "Come get me, my darling wife is dead."
He said, "Come get me, my darling wife is dead."
The time has come for him to step down. Big shoes to fill and he's not around. For the county that he loved to give his life, but it's a dirty, rotten world that took his wife.
It's a dirty, rotten world that took his wife.
My crew keeps me on the road from episode to episode, 'cause they all know I got a million stories to tell. To explore what makes a country great and put the crack in the Liberty Bell. So take a ride down the history highway. We're headed back to the days of old. So take a ride down the history highway. I got the pedal to the metal and a to the metal and I'm letting it shine.